I really am just getting like a gender-bent version of Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice, and I'm really into that, honestly. Hey y'all, it's Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video, we are going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag. Alright, before you get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments what's the worst book you've read so far this year. Let's get a little controversial. Let's talk about the fun stuff in the comments. But also, can you believe we have already hit midway through the year? Every time I film this tag, I'm like, how has so much time passed? I cannot believe it. But of course, this is a required tag. It's a great one to just review how your reading year has been going so far, and also maybe reprioritize what you need to be focusing on for the rest of the year. So without further ado, let's jump into the questions. First up, best book you've read so far in 2024. As per usual, I can't pick just one, but I did technically only pick one series, and I'm gonna say The Last Binding trilogy by Freya Marske. Binged through this series, and that's how you know I'm loving it, because I didn't have a choice. I just had to keep reading. I loved all of the characters in each of these books. I grew to care so much about every single one of them. I was enthralled with the romances that developed, but also the plot itself was just so much fun, and I was so intrigued to see how Marske was going to wrap everything up. I think she managed to balance so many genres in this book. Like, she made it feel historical, she made it feel fantastical, she made you feel the mystery in multiple different ways, because each book has a different sort of mysterious setup. But also, she definitely gave you lots of romance. The spice was always spicing. I really enjoyed the series overall. It is one I definitely know I will be rereading. I just need to get my hands on the second and third book before I can do that. Next question. Best sequel you've read so far in 2025. Did I say 2024 last time? I might have. Well, obviously, I just said a series for the first one, so I could have said the sequels to A Marvelous Light. Without cheating, I think I'm gonna go with A Fire Endless by Rebecca Ross, because honestly, going into this, I wasn't super excited for it, and yet she pulled it out. I shouldn't have doubted her. This was so good. She actually made me care so much more about the main characters, who were a lot more, I don't want to say like prevalent, because they're just as prevalent in the first book. Felt like it was a lot more at the forefront in this one, and I grew to care about it so much more. While the first book, I was much more interested in the side romance. But one way or another, I really enjoyed this one. It had so many elements that I just very much like in my romance books, but also in my fantasies. And it felt like the stakes here were even higher, which feels terrible to say, seeing as how the first book involves missing girls. But like in this one, the fate of the Isle itself is at stake. And so I was just really engaged, really glued in. There's so many moments that had my heart racing, had me on the edge of my seat. The side romance still has plenty of page time here, and I really enjoyed the developments around it. Rebecca Ross's writing is so good. It just does something for me. It tickles something in my brain just the right way that I know anytime I pick up her stuff, I'm gonna love it. And that's what happened here. Next question. New release you haven't read yet but want to. There's probably a few, honestly, but this one I just recently bought, so it feels like I should probably be prioritizing it the most. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. Especially seeing as how this one seems to be more comparable to Addie LaRue, which is A, the only book of this author's work I've read, but B, one I did very much enjoy. So I'm intrigued to try something that's, you know, maybe hitting on the same writing vibes, the same aesthetic, but a little bit differently, because this is supposed to be toxic, sapphic vampires. I really am just getting like a gender-bent version of Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice, and I'm really into that, honestly. But much like Addie LaRue, it is also on the chunkier side, so I will get to this. I just don't know when. Next question. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. As per usual, I can't have just one. Like, I don't do that. So first off, back to Rebecca Ross, definitely Wild Reverence, which I do have an arc of, and I am so excited. Honestly, I don't know too much about this. I don't want to know too much about this, but it is set in the same universe as the Divine Rivals duology, and it once again has a goddess character who utilizes music. I really don't need to know too much more. I automatically requested it when I got the offer, and of course, as soon as we are nearing the release date, I will be getting that read. Trust me, it is difficult to keep my paws off it now, but video plans and other things do kind of distract me. One that I luckily do not have to wait too long for is A Theory of Dreaming by Ava Reed. This is actually going to be a sequel to A Study in Drowning. When I first picked that one up, I didn't know it was going to have a sequel, and honestly, this is one of the cases where I don't know if the sequel is absolutely necessary, but I do love Ava Reed's work. I love their writing style. I really enjoyed the characters in the first book and the themes that were woven throughout it, as well as the little romance that developed between the two main characters, and the ending of that book is so satisfying. So I am hoping we get to see a little bit more of a happily ever after the events of the first book. So I am also very excited for this one. Probably will be going out to buy a copy as soon as I can. Next question. Biggest disappointment. Unfortunately, I actually read two of my biggest disappointments, both in May, right back to back, both of them from some of my well-loved romance authors. So starting at the top, Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I'm very sad about this. I, like many other booktube girlies, love Emily Henry. I was very excited going into this. It is definitely very reminiscent of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I understand why it gets comp titled to that a lot. Unfortunately, I didn't care about the life of that famous starlet all that much. I liked what was there of the romance, but I just wished we had more time with it. I really felt like this book got bogged down by the plot around this starlet and the competition to write her biography, and I just didn't really care about that. I liked Ellis as a main character. I was intrigued by what was his name? Hayden. Oh, that's funny. I just read a different romance book where the hero character was named Hayden. You'd think I would have remembered that. I was intrigued by Hayden, but I never really felt like we really got to know him all that well. The main trope I would point to for this book is insta-love, and that's just not really one for me, so this was a letdown. Along with it, on the opposite side, is Sarah Hogle, another author I tend to really love, whereas Emily Henry is more serious lit fic romance. Sarah Hogle is straight rom-com. Like, they are silly and funny and goofy, and I always have a good time with them. I wouldn't say The Folklore of Forever was necessarily a bad book, but I think it just leaned way too much into the funny comedy elements, and it kind of removed the questioning, is it magical, is it not aspect that I really enjoyed in the first book this series had, because that one was very whimsical, but it's not inherently a fantasy. A touch of magical realism. This one, there was no denying. It was straight up fantastical, and it didn't quite mesh with the world I had already created in my head for this series. And similar to A Great Big Beautiful Life, while I did enjoy the heroine character, I never really felt like the hero was built out enough. I didn't truly love the romance that developed between the two of them. It was fine, but was also a disappointment. Next question. Biggest surprise. For that one, I definitely have to point to a Buns N' Roses romance author that I ended up reading for. I've mentioned my Buns N' Roses TBR project numerous times. One of the authors that will be attending this year is Elizabeth Everett, and I read A Lady Sparks a Flame, her newest release, and loved it. Didn't know what I was getting into here, but it is very much a feminist historical romance, but there's also a STEM element that underlies the entire series because all of the heroines are geniuses in different STEM fields. So in this one, we have Phoebe, who is a chemist, and in one of Everett's prior series, we actually saw Phoebe commit a crime, and she was then exiled to America, but she's since returned. She's trying to help her mother and sister take care of their father's estate, which is how she re-meets Sam. He is actually the younger brother of one of her prior friends, prior heroine in the series. He is such a golden retriever who sees Phoebe, sees through all of the crap and protections she puts up, and loves her for who she is. Oh my gosh, this book was so good, y'all. I really loved it. It had some really heavy themes in it as well that felt like they were handled in a really great, sensitive way, but felt so realistic for the characters established here. Like, oh, it was so good. Abso-freaking-lutely will be reading more from this author. And off of that one, next up, favorite new author, debut, or new to you? I do technically have a rule that I need to read at least 2 books from an author in order to label them as a favorite, but I did want to answer this with authors that I think could be favorites. And so yeah, Elizabeth Everett, 100%. Everything in this book is just so up my alley, which is why I have big hopes for the prior books in the series and the universe overall. Can't wait to read more of it. But I think I would also mention Kylie Lee Baker because I read Bat Eater as a pick for my Geek Squad book club earlier this year and loved it. The writing in this was so good. It just hit on like every single element of horror stories I really enjoy. So off of this, I absolutely am going to be checking out more of her stuff. and I just heard about her new release, which is supposed to be like Japanese Gothic. That sounds amazing. I cannot wait. Plus, she does have some backlist series, which I've been eyeing for a really long time. Maybe now I'll finally pick them up one of these days. Next question. Newest favorite character. For this one, I had to go for Alex from After Hours on Milagro Street by Angelina M. Lopez, because I felt like this was a phenomenally written, unlikable female character. Alex can be so frustrating. And yet at no point in the story did I ever stop rooting for her. I always really enjoyed her and wanted her to find her happy ending. I wanted her to find comfort in her family again and find a place that she felt loved and at home. But at the start of the book, like, you understand, she has a lot to work through. She has definitely built up some walls, and she has a really hard time seeing things from a different person's perspective, which was so cool and so well written, because Lopez would showcase something to you through Alex's eyes and you'd be so on her side until somebody else will finally call Alex out on her bullshit and point out the error of her thinking, and you realize, oh, Alex actually is the bad guy in this situation, or it's not as simple as Alex seems to think. And I just felt like it was always presented in such a well done way. But again, I never stopped rooting for her. I always really liked her. She just felt very authentic and realistic and was unashamed to be herself. I really, really loved Alex, and I'm really, really hopeful to see more of this author's work. I know a third book is supposed to be coming in this series, but we don't know when, and I am very sad about that. Next question. A book that made you cry. For this one, I gotta go with I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. Not only at the start of this book, where there's this really traumatic scene that happens, and even though it's not inherently gory, the way it is written is still terrifying. Already, I was starting to care about the main character, so watching them experience this was horrifying. And it wasn't because of some fantastical horror elements, which does kind of happen later on in the story, but it was so real and very much based in human horrors. And that scene did bring a tear to my eye, but also later on, whenever the characters finally put together what's happening, what that means, and we're at the climax and seeing all of that play out, that was also really sad. And then watching the aftermath of it also made me cry. So, did not expect that to happen in a horror book, but Stephen Graham Jones's writing is just so good, and he also makes me care about characters so much that I'm kind of not really even a little bit surprised. Next question. A book that made you happy. For this one, first one I thought of was Spellbound by F.T. Lukens, because honestly, like, there's not a ton of plot happening in this book, but the story that you're following, the characters you are seeing, and just watching their lives unfold in this magical world, I just liked it so much. It was such a fun, happy read. It was really cute and sweet. It has a very, very fun animal companion situation that happens that I loved. This really made me think of like Agatha All Along, watching Agatha and the teen work together. I had a really great time. Like, thinking about this book genuinely just makes me happy. And in a little bit of a different direction is Tempest Breaker by Kevin Scott. This is the second book specifically following who was actually my favorite character of last year, Lorna D. She was previously one of these terrible Nihil pirates that we've been fighting against, but now she has left them and is sort of kind of on her own, but ends up having to work for the Jedi in order to try to bring down the head of the Nihil. And I just had so much fun with this one. Again, Lorna's a character I really enjoy. She is always out for herself, but we do kind of see how she's maybe not grown, but gotten a little bit more sensitive through the events she's experienced by this point, and how she has matured and is trying to move forward with her life. But at the same time, she is still Lorna. She is still out for herself, out to survive, and if she has to deal with these stupid Jedi, she'll do it in order for her to come out on top at the end. Another book that I just had so much fun reading it and knew I was going to whenever I started it, and by the end of it, I was completely right. I read this one as a part of Galactathon recently, so I'll put a link to that in the cards up above. Next question. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received? For that one, I do think I am going to call back to Bat Eater, especially this Evernight edition. This cover is creepy, but like not the most gorgeous, but everything else about this book, like these edges, the back with the bats, and then the naked hardcover, which is equal parts horrifying and gorgeous. Yeah, there's a reason I will never let go of my Evernight subscription for as long as I live. These books are so pretty and terrifying. I love them. And thankfully, so far, I've had a pretty good track record with enjoying all of the books they've sent me. All right, so final question. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? Well, starting from the top, I could mention my 10 books for 2025 TBR because there are 10 books on this and I've currently read 3 of them. So that's 7 books right there. But also, I still need to catch up on my bingo boards that I'm working on, both the horror bingo board, which is hosted by Wicked Reading, as well as the Reddit fantasy bingo board. I will actually have another video coming out with updates for those boards. But apart from those, I would also say I need to read We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix because I have it picked out for a video, and 𝗖cie at Anna Shate and I are supposed to be reading this together here soon. So I promise 𝗖cie, it'll happen eventually. But also, like I was saying off of Kylie Lee Baker previously, I really want to try out The Keeper of Night duology by her. I've been eyeing that one for so freaking long. I think it was Jan who initially introduced me to it, and she loves this author. So after I loved this one and the writing, I want to pick that series up even more. All right, and on that note, I think that's officially it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, let's leave a guitar emoji in the comments. I have links to all my socials as well as a few ways you can support me down in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!